Hi, this is Blood Omen X. I am gonna start the stream. We're gonna do some ghost stories today. I'm gonna get these stories from yourghoststories.com. That's where people submit their own ghost stories, their true ghost stories, for the most part. And that's the ones I'm interested in. So, let's begin. This is called Ghost Mimic Voices. Early in the year, I woke to my son saying "Mom" in an urgent tone. His room is far enough away so I can only hear if he is inside or by my door. When I got up to see what was wrong, he wasn't there. Checked his room and he was asleep. Mentioned this to my boyfriend, and he just laughed about it and thought I was dreaming or something. A couple months go by, and it happened again. But this time, it sounded like my younger son, a toddler, scream cry, like he was in distress. I woke up and turned on the lights, and he was fast asleep. Checked my other son, and he was also asleep. Once again, I mentioned this to my boyfriend, but he didn't think much about it. Last month, it happened again. I woke to my son saying, "What's that?" Again, I checked him, and he was asleep. And I went back to bed. I was woken again by what sounded like a yelling, unsure from who. Checked everyone again, and they were all asleep. I told my boyfriend the next day, and again he just thinks I'm dreaming or something. Last week I was at work and I came home. Casually, my boyfriend said when he was napping during the day while I was at work, he heard me say his name. One thing he said, it sounded urgent, which is something I didn't tell him. Been in this house for 4 years, never anything until now. Thinking of doing some cleansing with sage. Curious of what it could be. My baby is 19 months old now, and my oldest son is 12. This has happened once before when oldest was a year or two. Heard what we thought was my son crying. He was in another town that night with my sister. That time I saw a black figure by my bed, rolled over, and attempted to sleep once it faded. So that person heard some voices. I've heard voices before myself. Um, I've had quite a bit of strange experiences in my house ever since my mom died. I'm pretty sure she is haunting me, but not in a bad way. She's just, I think she's looking out for me. You know what I mean? So, like, here's my own experience. This isn't from an article I'm reading. So, like, one day I have a big um, projector, and I have an Xbox and all that. I have it all plugged up, and I have it playing all the time. I just have it playing constantly. Um, I had to go into work kind of late one day. I usually go to work in the morning, but today I had to go at 3 o'clock. So I started a movie on Amazon Prime. Um, it was like a Batman movie. I think it was like a animated Suicide Squad. And I started it, and then I had to leave for work, and I was like, oh crap, well, I'm just gonna leave it going, because, you know, whatever. I'll come back home later after work and I'll restart the movie. So I just let it go. I let it keep I heard it going while I left. So I left, I went to work. Nothing strange happened there. Um, but whenever I did came back home, I noticed everything was off in my room. And I looked, and no one else has a key to my house. I live by myself right now. No one else has a key to my house. And I went in, and everything was off. And I checked. Everything was unplugged. Okay? Um, my projector was unplugged. My Xbox was unplugged. And everything was off. And I know it's my mom because one thing my mom was always kind of paranoid of is that I would accidentally burn down the house leaving everything on. She didn't like everything being left on all the time. She hated it. So that's how I know it was my mom. Anyway, that's my own personal ghost story. Let me get back to the other stories here. That's the room I do all my streams in, by the way. It's in my bedroom. So, every once in a while I feel like there's like a presence in here. It's very crazy. I don't want to sage it, of course, because it's my mom. I would feel super bad about saging my own mom. If it was a ghost I didn't know who it was, yeah, maybe I would do it then. But no, I can't sage my mom. Okay, this next story is called Harbinger of Death by Little Miss Skinny. Here we go. The Black Lady. Others call it the Lady in Black. I only saw it once, but for me though, that one time was enough for me to know that this entity, the Black Lady, is the harbinger of impending death. I was a 5th grader in school at the time. The year was 2008. We always change classrooms in every subject we take. So when it was time for me to take my music and arts class, I decided to sit at the very front row because it was a subject that I was kind of interested in. But when I sat down, I noticed that I was directly facing an empty doorway. The classroom we were in was a detached single-story building that supposedly consisted of 2 classrooms. But the other room was converted into a storehouse holding only the best art projects of the students of the whole school. Maybe for convenience, an interior doorway or opening was installed in the wall in between the 2 rooms, just beside the huge chalkboard. Hold on one second, guys. Not feeling that music. Sorry. Don't feel like a John Carpenter thing. I feel like what do I feel like? Let's do some of this. A little bit of ambience. Here we go. There, I like it. So, that class was the subject. Oh wait, sorry. Here we go. It was halfway through the class when I started to feel uncomfortable. My whole body just felt so heavy. It was as though something was pushing down on my shoulders. At the time, I didn't really feel troubled about it, so I brushed it off, telling myself that maybe I was just tired. Um, that class was the last subject we have for the whole morning, and we would have an hour break for lunch after. So I thought to myself then that I was going to go home after the class, and I can rest or sleep for half an hour after having lunch. I checked my temperature, alternately moving the back of my hand, pressing it on my neck and on my forehead, but my temperature was normal, nothing out of the ordinary. After that, the discomfort became worse. I also began to feel nauseous, but I just thought that I might have eaten something wrong during recess time. So when the teacher started telling instructions for our next project and started writing a lot of things on the board, despite my comfort, I also started taking notes. As my head kept looking up at the board, then down at my notebook, my eyes would inadvertently pass by the empty doorway. Even though I was seriously taking down notes at the time, I still caught sight of something. I stopped moving immediately. I stared down at my notes, doubting myself for what I saw. I even said to myself that I was still too young to start going insane. But curiosity really did kill the cat. When I tried to look up towards the board again, I found myself looking directly at the empty doorway. I just thought that I saw something dark in my peripheral vision, but I never expected to see a woman dressed in black, with no feet, no face, floating by the doorway on the other side of the classroom. I was paralyzed in fear, thinking that I would moved even a little bit, I might catch her attention. My classmate, who was sitting right beside me, started to cry. I realized she was looking at the same direction. The teacher immediately noticed and was about to reprimand her, but one of our classmates at the back row shouted that he saw a black shadow passing by the doorway. After that one shout, it became a series of affirmations from others who also claimed that they saw it too. With that, our teacher decided to stop her lessons and began telling us the rumor hauntings in the storeroom. She had a lot of stories to tell, and when the topic eventually shifted to the ones we saw, she said that there wasn't any rumors about a black shadow before. Ooh. Great. Sorry about that, guys. I got an email notification right when I was reading that, and it shot down my damn phone. God, I hate that. When the class ended, I noticed that the nausea and the heaviness I'd felt before was gone. I went home for lunch that then shared to my parents what happened in the class. Oh, that's cool. They had off-campus lunches. I had that too in school. I went to a Christian school and they had that. Did some crazy things. Anyway, his parents told him to be careful, and that seeing something like that is a bad omen. I asked them why, and they told me that someone will die in the school 3 days from now. I shivered listening to that. 3 days later, I remember that I went very early to school that day. Although there weren't many people yet, but it's enough to know that something has happened. I saw both teachers and students gathered on the one-lane road all staring down at the concrete. I went over to them to take a look. I was terrified at what I saw. Then I remembered what my parents said. When I saw some teachers holding cleaning materials in their hands, I and a few other students helped to pour water to wash away the bloodstains on the ground. I noticed that it wasn't the only place that there was stained blood. There were also other areas too. Some trees were stained as well. There was a little bit on the classroom porch also. Our English teacher was not spared. But the one thing that was really scared me the most was that the bloodied concrete on the small pathway, which was directly facing the classroom where we saw the black lady, they say that it was where the body of the victim was found. The amount of bloodstains on the pavements there were also far greater than those of other places. Later that day, I overheard some teachers talking about what happened. They talked about why the victim was murdered, saying that the woman had a secret affair and was caught by her husband and was chased here at the school, where she was caught and brutally murdered. They also talked about how the police were so irresponsible in doing their job, and even gossiped about the man whom the woman had an affair with, saying that he was shot by the husband in his leg, but was still able to get away. Then I learned that the reason why the school was a bloody mess. Turns out the husband killed his wife using a rock, smashing her head repeatedly until it turned into a mixture of blood and hair.